There's a door in Mbeke village you're not supposed to touch. They say it was built by the French missionaries when they first came to these red earth plains. A small clay hut, no bigger than a cattle shed, with a heavy wooden door and a rusted iron lock the size of a man's fist. Nobody remembers exactly who put it there. Nobody remembers who locked, but everyone remembers what happened to the last man who tried to force it open. Mbeke sits on the edge of the old plantation roads where the French once traded palm oil and ivory for glass beads and cheap brandy. Now, only rusted signposts and ghost stories remain. At the heart of the village stands that hut, squat, sun-cracked, hidden under the shadow of a giant baobab. Children are told to stay away. Old women spit 3 times if their shadows fall across the door. But for 17-year-old Kosi and his friends, the stories are just that, story. One dry season evening, when the dusk turned the sky the color of spilled wine, Kosi and 3 of his friends stood around the hut. They had made a bet. Whoever touched the door first would win the small bundle of francs they'd stolen from a traveling trader. Kosi had always wanted to know if the whispers were true, that if you pressed your ear to the wood, you'd hear voices, French voices, mixed with old Yu prayers and the rustle of 100 secrets buried under the floor. His cousin Kojo said, "Don't be stupid. My grandfather said the missionaries locked away a spirit here." Kosi laughed. "Your grandfather also said lizards talk to him when he's drunk." He stepped forward, his feet crunching dry grass. He pressed his palm to the door. Nothing. The wood felt warm under his skin. Just wood, he thought. But when he leaned closer, when his breath fogged the splintered grain, he swore he heard something, a faint murmur, like a prayer or a memory. He jumped back. His friends scattered, laughing nervously. The next day, old Mama Abla, who sold fried plantains by the road, called Kosi over. "You touched it, didn't you?" she asked. Kosi tried to shrug it off. "It's just an old shed." She shook her head. Her eyes were milky with age, but they burned into his. "That door doesn't hold wood and mud inside. It holds our debt." "Debt?" Kosi frowned. Mama Abla leaned closer. "When the French left, they locked something they didn't want to carry back to Marseille. Something they took from us. Something that still wants out." Kosi laughed her off. But that night, as he lay in his small mud brick house, he dreamed of the door, open and yawning like a mouth, and from the darkness inside came the clinking of iron shackles. A week later, Kosi's friend Kwame dared him to come back to the hut at midnight. "Let's see if there's really something inside. Or are you scared?" They gathered by moonlight. The door seemed to breathe, swollen with the night's heat. Kosi felt something new, not fear exactly, but a heavy knowing in his chest. He grabbed a rock and bashed the rusty lock once, twice. It cracked open like an old bone. The door creaked inward, the smell of damp earth and old wood rushing out. A wind that shouldn't have been there ruffled their hair. Inside, the hut was empty at first. Then Kosi stepped over the threshold, and that's when he saw them, figures in the dark, bare feet, shackles, faces blurred like smoke, whispering in French, in a language older than both. They weren't angry, they were waiting. Behind him, his friends ran, their footsteps fading into the baobab's shadow. Kosi couldn't move. The figures drifted closer. He realized the door hadn't been locked to keep people out. It had been locked to keep them in. He felt cold hands on his shoulders, not cruel, but insistent. In that moment, he knew. The debt Mama Abla spoke of wasn't gold or oil. It was memory. It was truth. It was a promise, made by men in white collars who sailed away while the villagers prayed the debt would stay buried. And now it wanted to be paid. In Mbeke, they say that if you pass by the old hut at dawn, you might see a figure sitting at the door, a boy, grown old in one night, whispering in Yue and French to the ones who listen. No one locks the door now. No one needs to. The debt remembers how to close it on its own, and so does Kosi.